Here from Sherlock.com. I want to talk to you today about the iPhone 5. A lot of people have run through the iPhone 5 for you. You've seen the press releases, you've seen Apple's website, so I just want to quickly run through the specs, but then give you some of my analysis. So of course it has a 4-inch display at 1136 pixels by 640 pixels. Basically what they did was increasing the display. They say that they just increased the vertical resolution so it would fit comfortably in your hand. Now that's up to debate. Of course, we'll have to feel it in hand first. But in terms of also talking about that display, they say it's the best display they've ever shipped. It's 44% more saturated than the previous display on the iPhone 4S. It also has integrated touch, so there's another layer below the glass that they used to put the touch stuff. Now they've gotten rid of that layer, made it a little bit thinner, and also more responsive, less glare, etc. They've also increased the display size while making it thinner at 7.6 millimeters and weigh less at 112 grams compared to the 4S. Of course, this is also made out of aluminum and glass, and it kind of makes a cool finish. It comes in black or white, and the front is very similar to the past. But when you go into the back, the white has white windows made out of glass at the top, and then sort of an aluminum glass looking finish, or an aluminum steel looking finish for the white model, I should say, in the center, which is pretty cool. It actually is pretty interesting. In terms of connectivity, of course, you have Wi-Fi, all that, but you have HSPA+, LTE, dual carrier. What is that? HSDPA. So that's very fast. It's on a single chip, single radio with a dynamic antenna. So basically what that means is, they were able to condense a lot of the internals into one chip, and of course a dynamic antenna, which they say is wonderful, which we'll have to see. But LTE, just one thing to keep in mind, LTE has a lot of different frequencies. So in the United States there will be two models, CDMA and HSPA. So what that means is AT&T's model will be different than Verizon Wireless's model because the LTE bands are different. And to make it even more annoying, international bands use different bands altogether. So international models will have different LTE bands, and therefore will have a different model of the iPhone 5. That doesn't matter if you just buy from your carrier. They'll obviously sell you the correct one. But it is something to keep in mind if you're buying an iPhone 5 on the third-party market from someone else, from the internet, whatever. Just keep in mind to make sure that the LTE bands in that phone will support your carrier. It has an A6 chip, which Apple says is twice as fast in terms of CPU performance and twice as fast in terms of graphics performance than the A5. And they say battery life exceeds the iPhone 4S, which is a pretty interesting revolution when you consider it's faster, has a bigger display, has LTE, and has better battery life, all in a thinner package. Of course, getting a little bit more vertical space helps you with that, but nevertheless, still a cool feature. It has an 8 megapixel camera. Basically, this is very similar in terms of performance to the 4S, but because Apple made the device smaller, they needed to improve the technology just so you'd be able to stay on par. So it has a backside illumination, dynamic low light, panorama mode, and it'll take pictures at about 40% faster. Now, they touted some stuff about the shutter speed. In terms of low light usage, this will probably work better than the iPhone 4S, but in general, performance overall, pictures will look very similar. It'll also take 1080p full HD video, face detection, you can take photos while recording, so some cool features along those lines. The FaceTime camera has also been improved, so you can capture 720p video. You can also capture about 1.3 megapixels still, so that's been improved. Just a couple other little improvements, and they improved the speaker design. There's now 3 microphones on here, so no matter how you use the device, it'll work very good, as well as giving you solid noise cancellation features. What's also interesting, they changed the dock connector. It's no longer a 30-pin, it's now the lightning connector. It's 8-pin, all digital, reversible, durable, all that business, all that marketing jargon. Basically it means if you have a 30-pin accessory, you're going to need to get an adapter, which Apple is selling separately for about $30, which is unfortunate. In terms of pricing, $199, $299, and $399 for 16, 32, and 64 gigabytes respectively. You can pre-order tomorrow, September 14th, and that'll ship in a week from then, the 9/21. More carriers will launch 9/28 internationally, and by the end of the year, they should have over 100 carriers. Or be in over 100 countries, I should say. And one just quick aside, if you're on a previous device like the 4S, the 4, the 3GS, if you're on the iPod Touch 4th generation, if you're on the iPad 2, the new iPad, iOS 6 will be a free upgrade for you September 19th. So look for that. Now in terms of what I think about this, it is a very solid phone, don't get me wrong. But I think I really nailed it when a friend of mine texted me yesterday when I was in class asking about the iPhone 5. And I said, battery life is a little bit improved. It has LTE, it has a bigger screen. And you know what? She's not very tech savvy. She knows her stuff when I explain it, but she wouldn't necessarily know what LTE is unless I explained, it's faster cellular throughput and all that. Well, whatever. She said, "Oh, that's cool, but I think I'm happy to just stick with my iPhone 4S." And you know what? I completely agree with that. The iPhone 5 is definitely an improvement. Don't get me wrong. If you're coming from, an older smartphone, it's a solid phone. But I think in this day and age, it is not the end-all be-all phone, such as the iPhone 3G or even the 3GS. At that time, there really wasn't anything comparable. At this time, you have a slew of cool new Android phones coming out. And with the little dark horse here, you guys know I'm using a Windows Phone device, the Lumia. There's a lot of cool Windows Phone 8 devices that are just around the corner. It's particularly the Lumia 920. I think that's a very cool phone, and it's coming soon. Now, I think the Lumia 920 may have better feature set, but what Apple does is they have the whole package, and they give you pricing, and they give you quick release dates, which is key. The other companies don't do that. And I think if you're completely immersed in Apple, you use you have their email. Everything syncs to the iCloud. You have your computer that's on Mac, so everything synchronizes perfectly. It definitely is the best full ecosystem. There's no doubt about it. The App Store is the most full, and it has the best quality apps. The apps on Windows Phone are definitely lacking compared to their iPhone brothers. But I'm not running out to pre-order or to buy the iPhone 5. I'm not saying I'll never use an iPhone 5. I'm not saying I might not upgrade. But I'm saying I'm going to wait to see in the next coming months what the competition is before I lock myself in for 2 more years with AT&T. That's just my 2 cents. Again, I think the iPhone 5 is a strong phone, no doubt about it. It's been improved in pretty much every aspect compared to the 4S. But in my eyes, it's not the end-all be-all, and it's not the definitive phone that I'm going to use for my next upgrade. So that's just my 2 cents on the iPhone 5. I'd love to hear your analysis in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a nice day.